everyone, my name is Tracy and I'm here at the Mississippi Children's Museum hosting Tinker with Tuesday, which is sponsored by Georgia Pacific. Today we're going to be making paper airplanes, and I have a few facts about paper airplanes if you want to send your grown-up to go get you some copy paper, just regular letter size copy paper. While they do that, it's thought that paper kites and gliders were first created in ancient Japan and China. During the Renaissance period in Europe, inventors created paper models of flying machines. The Wright brothers were the ones who actually invented airplanes, and they tested their invention using miniature paper models. During World War II, children's toy planes were made from paper instead of metal, wood, or plastic because supplies were being rationed. Now, the science of paper airplanes is very similar to the science of regular airplanes. There are four main forces that keep a paper airplane in the air. These are called aerodynamic forces. These are thrust, lift, gravity, and drag. Thrust is the force exerted when you throw the plane forward. So when I take my paper airplane and I throw it, I'm giving it the thrust that it needs to fly. Lift is the force that acts on the wings to keep the plane in the air and help it move upwards. Gravity is the force that pulls the airplane down. So at the end of its flight, when it comes down to the ground, that's gravity that's pulling it down. And then drag is the force that is exerted on the tail that makes the plane slow down. So drag is the opposite of thrust. So we have drag here and thrust here. Those two are opposites. So what we're going to do is we are going to make two different types of paper planes today. We have a simpler one and one that's a little harder. So you're going to start with your piece of copy paper and you're going to fold it in half like a hot dog, just like a hot dog bun. Make sure you're creasing the folds so that your paper lays nice and flat. After you have folded it in half, you're going to unfold it and fold the corners down to the center line. So these top two corners, I'll do it this way. So this is the top of the paper. The top two corners are coming down to the center line right here. So what you end up with is this shape with a triangle at the top. Then you're going to fold your paper back in half, closing that up so that you have this shape right here. The last thing you're going to do is these two top edges, you are going to fold them down to create the wings. Flip it over and do it on the other side. That's your first paper airplane. It should look something like this. We're going to throw it and see if the wind is against us. Here we go. Okay. So we're going to make our second one and see how it flies compared to the first one. So our second one's a little harder, so pay close attention. We're going to do the same fold, the same hot dog fold. And then the same thing we did with the first one, where we unfold it and the two top corners come down to this center crease. This is where it gets a little harder, okay? So your top triangle here, you're going to fold it down to the center. You end up with this shape that looks a little bit like an envelope that your letters come in. Then you have these two corners here at the top. They're going to come down to about an inch above this point. So grown-ups might have to help with this a little bit. Fold these corners down. So you should end up with a shape that looks like this. It's kind of got a triangle at the top, and you've got a triangle right here. So this part right here, this flap, is going to come up over the folds you made so that you end up with this shape. Then we're going to fold it back in half. This is what your paper airplane should look like now. And then you're going to do the same thing we did with the first airplane, where you fold your wings down. The folds are getting a little thicker now, so it might be a little harder to fold. Alright, so your paper airplane should look something like this. It's got kind of a blunt nose, and it's a little smaller than your first one. So we're going to throw this one and see how it flies. That one went a little further. So what I want you guys to do at home is I want you to try making these paper airplanes and put up photos and video and tag us on Instagram and Facebook. We're using the hashtag MCM at home this week. Thank you for coming to Tinker with Tuesday.